This lesson is on the multiplication of integers. Remember when we're finding the product, and product is that word that means the answer to a multiplication problem. So when we find the product, we're just going to keep it simple. Remember that it takes two negative signs to come together to make a positive sign. So if you have two negatives that are multiplied by each other, then your result is positive. If you have one negative and one positive, then that negative doesn't have one to match up with, and so your answer is negative. So here's the general rule. If all of your negatives get paired up, your answer will be positive because every two minuses make a plus. Two wrongs make a right in math. If you have a negative left over, then your answer will be negative because you have one that doesn't match up. And also remember that any real number multiplied by 0 is 0. So let's take a look at these questions. Go ahead and multiply, use those rules, then press play to see how you did. For my first one, I have -3 times -11. So first I want you to notice that this dot means multiplication. Notice over here that I've written the question using parentheses instead. We very seldom use the x for times because this x will become a variable later on, and so we don't tend to do that. So in your work, you should be using the dot or the parentheses. Back to the question, I've got -3 times -11. Those two negatives come together to make a positive. 3 times 11 is 33, and the answer will be positive 33 because I've got two negatives. -6 times positive 4. These two multiply to 24. I've got one negative, which means my answer is negative because it didn't match up with another negative to become positive. For my third, 12 times -9. Remember here I've got one negative and one positive, so I'm going to multiply these together to get 108, and then my answer will be negative because I just have the one negative. And then -1 times 0, it really doesn't matter what's here as long as it's a whole number or integer or later on a rational number. Anything times 0 is 0. We're also going to translate the multiplication and then simplify. So remember, we're looking for keywords when we're translating. So times or product are two things that both mean multiplication. So -4 times 11 would look like that, or it might also look like this. I tend to write them with the multiplication parentheses instead. -4 times 11, different signs. Only one negative doesn't match up with anything else, so it's -44 is my solution. For B, the product of -8 and -5 means -8 times -5. Again, you choose which multiplication sign you'll use. I'm just using the parentheses. Now I've got two negatives. Those come together to make a positive, so my solution is positive 40. Try these two on your own, then press play to see how you did. The first, I've got multiply 0 by 42, so that's 0 times 42 would be my expression. Then to simplify, I would take 0 times 42 to get 0. And for B, the product of -4 and 6, -4 times 6 is my expression. To simplify, I would multiply them. A negative times a positive gives me a negative, and my solution is 24.